Okay, they want to be their own authority. Everyone does, but in the angular houses, you're pushing for it in certain unique ways. So all the meanings of the seventh house of reacting, of who you attract, of sharing with someone, of being able to work as a partner, a team is the 11th house. Running a group, that's the 10th house. But that practical matter. But the 7th house is about sharing, about listening to the partner. So if you have Mars there, you're pushing the partner. You're pushing for a relationship. We're together. Let's do this. Let's go here. And you're a little bit overdriving to get the partner to line up to do the things you want to do. Okay, that's a big distinction. Like you'll be with someone and the partner's expecting you to do everything. Maybe you might expect that, but really, if your Mars is there, you're going to have conflicts. It's said to be a conflictive thing because you get tripped up for who's doing what and who's forcing which. It's competitive, and each person has to be doing their own thing for it to work well. But one person might have Mars there, whether the other person does or not. There's 12 other ways to react to this. And half of them would probably be more positive and more aligned to work together, and half of them may not. But this is pushing how to do things together. We got to do this. Let's go here. Let's do this. There's a drive that affects your partner to have to live. If I'm doing this, Jesus is going to make this happen. Who's going to take the kids? Who's going to get them to work? Like, how much can we take on? But there's going to be a push to do that because you're not going to be pushing to do it yourself. It's easier with two. But the Mars in the first house will be pushing to do itself and not be so quick to take on the partners because it would interfere with what they could do. Now, Mars in the fourth is going to be really strong about their security. It's pushing to be secure, to have a home, to be secure. If I'm doing something, I want to feel secure about what I'm doing. Well, I got my own yard, I got my own place, I got the things I do, I got my bike, I got my golf set, I got whatever, I got my things to do, or I got my home and the kids in town, I got these things at home, I got to be this way. Don't mess with it. But someone with the Mars in the 10th house is it's justifying their energy by status and accomplishing things, by the business, and might compromise all the energy. I'm late, I got to get everything done, you take care of this, I'm going. It could easily delegate like that. But Mars in the 4th house wouldn't do that. They're trying to hold it together to do the things they need to maintain the security in the moment on a personal level. So if your Mars is above the RASA, it's more naturally geared to career and fitting in and finding a job out there. Almost more naturally suited to the educational system that's gearing people to boxes or to those things. If your Mars is below, there's a lot of things to take care of that you're learning from. That doesn't have to mean you have to be participating in all the other things. Okay, so now we're getting to see, we're putting good energy, but where our sun is, our moon is, our Mercury, Venus, all these other things are influencing the puzzle. So you can see how other conflicts and how it becomes not so simple in someone's life. But when you're working with one chart, one planet at a time, you have to see each one clearly. As you start to see it, its strengths and weaknesses. Looking at, oh, that means probably this or probably that. Well, in my life, it was like this. Or when I was 16, it was like this. When I was 30, it was like this. So it's just, you get little sense of it. You begin to see how it is for you, and then you begin to sense how other people might react to it. And then you start expanding the whole world and how you relate to it because of that. So when you're into the succeeding houses of having and using what you have, if you have Mars there, you're going to be pushing to have things, to get things. Pushing to use what you have or to get what you have to get. You're going to be very aggressive in getting and accumulating things, in having things, and very strong about how they should be used. I'm getting this because I want to do this. Don't tell me I can't do that. So it's not an aggressive Mars like the angular Mars, but it's a very determined, stubborn one. It's trying to accumulate things, have things and use them with force. I want to be able to do this. I want to have this. I want to do this. I want to get the skateboard and I want to compete at that contest, or I want to get, I want to get my bike, or I want to get my car, or, I want to have things. If I'm not going to get something, why would I go spend my money on that if I'm not going to get anything from it? There's a certain it's a certain practical side to it, but there's one of each element. So you can't just say just concern, but you have your personal talents and resources. So if Mars is in your second house, if you have a talent or a resource or money, you're going to if you have money, you're going to spend it to prove your point. If you have skates, you're going to go out skating. If you have the things, you're going to, if you don't have it, you're going to push to get them. You got to get them. I got to get the skates. I got to get this. I got to get this next app, or I got to have this. Like it's not so much. It might be partly because of what other people have, but really you're driven to get things. You want them for yourself. You want to have them. So if you're playing on it, if you have brothers and sisters who are playing on an app, you're using the computer, you can be playing, but it's not going to be quick for you to give up that and let other people play. You'll have somebody pop to say, you're doing too much. It's my turn, my turn, my turn. That's a more social way, but it's more you're just going to be pushing here. When you have the Mars in the 11th house, you're pushing outwardly, but you're trying to have friends and have social status and have peer groups. You're trying to prove your social position. You're trying to prove you have a place to do, people to do things with, a place to belong, a place to do things with, and you're doing things similar to other people. And the competition is, I know so-and-so, I'm doing this, I got to do this, so I got to be here, I got to be at the game, I got to go to the movie, I got to see this perform, I got to do, you're going out to do the things that involve other people. And you're accumulating those experiences. Well, that's a very different type of accumulating than trying to get the things you want. So the Mars, those houses just mean this, and the Mars is just throwing its energy in to make you more impatient and more restless and more forceful around these things. So a Mars in the 11th house is going to have want to prove things with other people. It should be in physical relationships, like on a team, on a group, doing things in groups or making things happen, but it's going to be competitive socially too as to who fits, who belongs or doesn't belong. But they're going to be pushing to accumulate all the people they know. And that social competitiveness gets them going. Or if they get negative, it puts you down. When the Mars goes into the 8th house of having joint resources of trust, we're together, we trust each other, we're not going to hurt each other. You have your money, you have mine, we have joint bank accounts. I want to push what we have. Let's go for more. Let's make a bigger investment. Let's go here. It's going to push to make the investment of how we should make our money. But it might push a little stronger than the partner was pushing. But it's trying to accumulate. So Mars in the 8th house has a drive to push with people and to accumulate. So to be with someone who has things, you're not going to be with somewhere you're not getting anything. There's not there's not an add-on for it. But it's really good for business. It's like closing the deals, make things happen. But it could be if there's an estate or there's some dispute about where money's supposed to go, there are going to be strong judgments about parents' trust, the relationship, whether they held together or not, whether they made the right inheritance or made their wills properly or not. They're going to be fighting about these issues and pushing to get what they can out of it. So if I've done this for you, you owe me. So they might do a lot of things because they're expecting things to come back to them. I've done this, now you have to put up with this. You can't judge. You can see this tendency. You have to observe a person. You can't see if someone's good. Someone could be very selfless and have Mars in any one of these places and work it in a non-selfish way. But the tendency is you have to come out of the gross uses of energies to get to refine it over lifetime, learning from experience. So what having things is when you're 2 years old is very different than having things when you're 14, 15, or when you're 30 or 60. But the push to get to have them and the push to use things the way you want to use them, to force the issue to get it to be done, that's the Mars. So when Mars is in the 5th house of performance, you want to have feelings. You want people to feel they like your energy. Wasn't that good for you last night, honey? Wasn't I the most romantic? Wasn't this the best? Well, I did this for you. I'm doing this. You're doing things to get feeling. You're doing things to get the attention. Hey, mom, look at me. Hi, honey. Like, watch me. I can do this. I'm playing this solo. I'm playing this. I'm doing it. And you're trying to have. It's not like this 4th house is being secure. Here you're trying to get the feelings. You're trying to get the feedback. You're trying to get the applause. You're trying to get the reaction. So if you have your Mars in your fifth house and everybody's watching a football game, watching something on TV, and you're a kid and you're all alone, you're going to go walk and stand in front of the TV. Because why? Because negative attention is better than no attention. And you need to be noticed. Ta-da! So it's playful. It has its own side, but whenever you look at any one point against the whole circle, you can see here's this special gift, and here's the cost of the other things that would be fighting against us. So you can see the good, and you can see the undertow or the difficulties that go along with it. And when you have it there, that's very useful, because when we have problems in our life around a certain planet, it'll come up in the dark side, and we're trying to get the good side, and we're trying to build up the muscles to do that. So the Mars in those succeeding houses are a little more fixated in how they're doing and what they're getting for what they're doing. It's different between each of them, but they're all fixated in using their energy a certain way. In the Caden houses, which are the 6th and the 12th, you're always transforming your energy and trying to improve it. In the 9th and the 3rd house, you're trying to improve your understanding and adjust your understanding and learn something. So these are all they're like mutable signs, but they're the Caden houses, and they're very diversified. So if someone has their Mars in the Caden houses, these are multiple choice houses. They're not, it's not so driven as the angular. It's not so determined and fixated as in the fixed. It's diversified. The energy goes out in more than one place or in several directions. There's a need to increase the scope, to adjust, to include more things that you can do, to expand, to diversify, to learn. So Mars in the 3rd house, subjective, rising, down below, you're having to push whatever you know. As soon as you know, so I got to try this. This is a good idea. I'm going to try this. I mean, I was only about 8. Well, I was cooking when I was about 6, making breakfast and stuff. But I think about 7 or 8 years old, I was home babysitting my younger brother. Maybe I must have been maybe 9 or 10. And we're there. We got a TV. Parents are out. I'm babysitting. We're kind of half scared. I thought, well, I'll go make some popcorn. So I get the idea. I got to go do it. I never made popcorn before. I watched mom do it lots of times. So I just got the pot. I put some oil in it, put thing on the pot. I get it all going. It's popped. It's all done. And I go to take the pot, and the pot's off the stove. Where am I going to put it? I didn't want to crack the table. I didn't know anything about where to put it. I put it on the chair, and it melted this whole vinyl chair, and I got a lot of trouble for it. But I was acting on an idea, but then trying to improvise as I'm going along, and I got caught on it. I didn't know. I was too young to know all these things, and boom, we got the popcorn. But the place almost burned down. But my brother and I had a good time, and that's what happens when you leave a 10-year-old at home to babysit. So, okay. But that's just like this. I pulled out one example of how it should be. I travel when things weren't working in the town I was living in. I grew up in or school. I would leave and I would travel. I just go by myself. I get it. I go somewhere. This is in the 60s. I hitchhiked all over North America. I would never suggest my grandkids or that to do it. But I had nothing to lose, and I couldn't stay where I was. There was enough negativity around, and I knew I had to go somewhere and do something. But it's just following my own knowledge to do it. And I tried something different. So I went to the university for chemistry math, and I did that. I put a couple of years to do that, but then family split up. I left. I started traveling, and a few years later, I ran into astrology, and I'm suddenly just pumped and doing astrology and doing everything. And my old world just faded away. But there were arguments and fights and pushing for ideas and trying to learn new things. I've always been driven to learn new things. So this was part of it. And for me, my Mars there, Tai Chi, learning Tai Chi, it was athletics or gymnastics when I was younger, but learning something physical and being able to do it and get coordinated around, that was a real drive. It meant something to me personally, but they weren't so much. I liked the team sports, but there was problems. I wasn't rich. I didn't fit in. So like the personal sports end up working really well. I'd go fishing. I'd go